Welcome to Cardboard Conjecture. We're a podcast about board games where we have opinions and conclusions formed on the basis of incomplete information. This episode of Cardboard Conjecture is brought to you by these great Saskatoon businesses: Amazing Stories Comics on 8th Street, Dragon's Den Games on 8th Street, and Breakout Escape Rooms on Faithful Avenue. Welcome to Cardboard Conjecture. I'm your host, Norm.
I'm Ryan.
I'm Ian.
And on this episode, I will review a little-known game called Ticket to Ride. Ryan?
Marco
Polo.
that was officially. We're going to do the Voyages of Marco Polo.
Cardboard Conjecture is proudly sponsored by Amazing Stories Comics on 8th Street in Saskatoon. They are the winner of the Joe Shuster Award for Best Comic Book Store in Canada, and they were also nominated in 2016 for the U.S. Eisner Spirit of Comics Retailer Award presented at Comic-Con. Amazing Stories' amazing collection of comic books, board games, puzzles, and collectibles can be found in their store or on their new online website. And welcome back. This is Cardboard Conjecture. We are going to go into our segment of playing, thinking, doing board games. And you know what? I'll start it up, and then we'll proceed to the thinky end of it. We got in a game from a suggestion by a lot of people, and also from the What You've Been Playing Wednesday cast have talked a lot about this, and it's Zombie Kidz Evolution. And it is designed by, let me get the details up here. It's a game designed by Annick Lobé, I think, and published by Scorpion Masqué in Montreal, Canada. And this is...
We're contributors on our Wednesday podcasts.
Yeah. Woohoo. How's it going, eh? So what I appreciate about this, and I mean, it's ranked number 1 in the children's game list. So I got this for Daniel and I. And I think we got a hit on our hands here, because it's basically a legacy game. It's what's the best way to describe it? Kind of, I mean, I would like to say, tower defense, but you're protecting the school. Zombies are coming in at the corners. To win the game, you have to lock the gates at each corner. And some of the details in the game of how you lose the game is when you go to populate the board of zombies, there's no zombies to populate, and that's basically the big one right there. And we both play characters, and like I said, it's a legacy game, so there's stickers involved. And I just discovered that Daniel is a envelope-driven, motivated gamer, because once he understood, and just for the context of everything, my son Daniel is 15 and he has Down syndrome, so there's a lot of stuff that we like to play together just for that whole learning and processing part. And man, as he processed this one like a master. It's a simple rule set. I mean, you roll the dice, you bring a zombie in the color that's designated, and then you move, and you have the ability, when you start, you have the ability to eliminate 1 or 2 zombies in your room, and that's how you move and progress through this map. And it's like I said, it's a map of zones. You got 1 zone in the middle, and then you have 4 classrooms around the perimeter of that center one, and then on the outside of each of those walls is the playground area, and then that's where the zombies come in at the corners, and that's how you lock it up. And if you get the 4 locks, you win the game. As we progressed, we'd unlock envelopes, and new player power characters would come out, and they would just scaffold the learning for the kids in this game. And I think it does and of course, all 3 of us are teachers, and we're always going to, I'm at least going to always look at something in regards to the learning potential. And they designed this so well for kids it says 7+, right? To scaffold their learning on how you can add elements to a core system to increase the game's potential. So I'm really happy with this. I think we've got like 20 games into it, and it says that it's 5 to 15 minutes. So yeah, I'd sooner knock out 7 games of this than 7 games of Candyland.
This looks very interesting. Like, now, my copy just arrived today.
Yay!
I picked it up on we did a Board Game Bliss order. They had a super sale, so me and some other guys in Saskatoon here got in on this order, and to round it out to the free shipping, I needed something really, really cheap, and this one ended up it was like $20 or something like that.
Yeah.
And it looks really fantastic. I'm hoping to play this with Regan because I'm really sick and tired of playing this PJ Mask game that he has. And so if I kind of like have a little bit more of a gamer's game for a child, I would probably like that.
And that's the thing that I didn't point out thank you for mentioning. For being a board gamer, this game kept me interested because every move there was a legitimate tactical decision to be made, right? So, it kept me engaged. Absolutely. So
cool.
Yeah, I encourage this.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, because you sent us the screenshot there. I counted. I think if you want to play everything, it's like there's like 55 game sessions that you'll end up playing. But like you said,
the campaign. Yeah.
But like you said, they're like what you said. They're like 5 to 15 minutes long.
Yeah,
each,
and win or lose, you put a sticker on and you progress, right? So I think as far as this game teaching the young gamers in the hobby how to play this cooperative, work a system. Yes, I think it does a great job on working a system and adding new potential to characters and villains and
Yeah, this one, like you said, this one's been recommended a lot. I've heard a lot of people talking about it.
Lane plays this with his kids, I think.
He does, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, cool. So that's a Zombie Kids Evolution from Scorpion Masque and designed by Annick Lobe.
Okay, so we can go from one campaign-like game to another campaign-like game. As a game that I've mentioned on the What You've Been Playing Wednesday cast is CloudAge, and we finally finished we finished the story of it. So CloudAge is designed by Alexander Pfister and Arno Steinwinder, and it's been published in North America by Capstone Games. And this is kind of like Alexander Pfister's next kind of like big box game that he released this year, and it has been advertised mainly as that it has this story mode to it, much like it's very similar to the Maracaibo story mode, which is a fantastic way to play Maracaibo. But it's not the only way to play Maracaibo either. Maracaibo had like standalone scenarios that you could just play as one-offs. And CloudAge did a really good job with this. Now, CloudAge was a much lighter version of, say, like things that he has done in the past. The gameplay is very straightforward. It's a very linear progression of what you do on a turn. Like it's, hey, get some resources. Okay, now move your airship. Okay, now do these extra actions to get more resources. Wash, rinse, and repeat for however many rounds the particular chapter is going to be. And so the gameplay is very straightforward. The strategies that we've seen are pretty straightforward in it. Like there's not a lot of variety in the different types of strategies that you can go about, because it is a competitive campaign style. Like you are going to score points at the end of every game. And based on how many points you've scored, there's like a little achievement sheet at the very end that says how many stars you earned because of how many points you've scored.
Yeah.
And such. So we finally finished it, and we did enjoy, or at least I enjoyed, the level of choices that it allowed you to have throughout the game, like the stuff that you actually end up putting on the board. Like it's not stickers, but they have these things called legacy tiles. Mm-hmm. And so it just kind of gives you some new action spaces on the board, or it adds new cards to the deck, or it just gives you some new actions that you could take on your turns. They were really kind of cool. They fit thematically with the story, even though the story, in my opinion, was, in the end here, it ended up being pretty weak. Like you're not going to play this for like the story, but playing it through as a story mode, like just as that progression of different actions that you can unlock and different things you can unlock is actually pretty cool. But at the end of the day here, I don't think that we're going to return to this game. Just like say, hey, do you want to play CloudAge Chapter 3 again? Or do you want to play CloudAge? Like we're not really invested in just kind of just returning back to and just playing a single scenario.
Okay.
We did realize that there are those standalone scenarios in CloudAge, just like Maracaibo, but we found that I don't know for what is about this game. It was just too simple, or there's just that the choices. I think for us, it was the choices are too linear, as in like, hey, there's only really these things. And whatever cards I drew, okay, I guess that's the thing that I have to do because that's the most efficient way that I'm going to be able to score points this particular game.
You mean they were perceived choices?
It makes it look like, and like it's a big deck of cards.
Yeah.
But all of the cards, there's not much variety in the different types of things that those cards provide you. Like it's a big old deck of cards, but like really, there's a lot of them that provide you extra movement. Provide you extra combat, provide you, hey, score points if you do this. There wasn't a lot of variety in the different types of. Now the costs might differ a little bit, but hey, but it was fun for a while it lasted. Like we got a good 7 games out of it. Mm-hmm. And though I argue that the first 2 games are kind of like learning games. Like we're like, oh, that's all really like the very first chapter is like, wow, that's really all we have to do. Like I watched some how to play videos and they were explaining a lot more things. And I said, well, with this first chapter is actually pretty basic. Actually, I saw that they're coming out with a 2nd edition of CloudAge, and Alexander Pfister says, yeah, they're going to extend the campaign by a couple chapters and they're going to totally eliminate that very, very first chapter. Like type of scenario, that learning scenario, they're going to eliminate that one and maybe extend it a little bit more on the back end in this upcoming 2nd edition, probably towards the end of this year, type thing. Which kind of bugs me too when they decide to do the 2nd edition so close to when the first one was just released, with these little tweaks.
Oh, it's got a lot of hype, that's for sure. So yeah, that's CloudAge. We finished it. We enjoyed it for what it was, but I think this one might go into the for sale trade pile. Well, I mean, like you said, you did the story, right?
We got the story. There's not very much branching in the storyline. Like there's the different things like, oh, did the players do this? No? Oh, okay, read this card now instead of this card. But there's really not, I would say there's not much variety in the branching story pathways. They're all gonna end up at the very same moment.
Yeah.
They all culminate at the very end of the chapter at the same place.
Cool. All right.
So yeah, CloudAge. I recommend if you enjoy these things. I know people say they enjoyed this because it is lighter. Mm-hmm. He is known for his heavier Euros.
Yeah.
And
totally.
But this one maybe is a little bit more accessible.
Yeah, I love legacy games, but at the same time, I want my legacy game to be a legacy game. And I don't really like when it's like trying to be a half legacy campaign thing, which is fine. Like campaigns are fine as long as the game exists in and of itself, right? Like where the campaign's not necessary. Like for Maracaibo, for example, we didn't play the legacy, Norm and I, but we had a blast with that game.
Yeah.
I think that game stands up on its own, but it's kind of sounding like this one needs the campaign, and then otherwise it's not really
to keep you engaged.
There.
And
if you were just gonna play this like one shot scenario, like they do have, I don't know if I would have any fun with it. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have very much fun with it in that regard.
Are you satisfied that you tried it?
Yeah, and like I said,
Yeah.
and the price point on it is pretty good.
Well, yeah, and you
I
got
think
how many
it's like
games out of it?
We did the seven. I did like a learning game.
Yeah.
And then we also got we did the 7 chapters.
Well, there you go.
So we got the
That's
7
like,
games. So we got like 8 games, and it's like a $45 game.
well, there you go. I mean,
So I
cheaper
think we
than
got
a
value.
movie.
I think we got value. We got value out of it.
Yeah, well,
We got
there you
value
go.
out of it.
Cool. So, Ian, is this a as Ryan and I were talking, Brian, is this a conundrum moment that Ian's presenting to us?
I think this might be a cardboard conundrum.
Hit us with the conundrum, Ian. Oh yeah,
We just came up with that on the spot,
Yeah.
and I believe it went beautifully.
All right, so I'm doing the thinking part of this section. So I was looking at an article the other day that was kind of floating around the interwebs, and it's from Z-Man Games. It was from their blog, from their head of studio, whose name is Steve Kimball, and he was writing a thing on Euro games and how hard it is for Euro games to kind of stay in the picture. And he was framing it in the idea that he is kind of like running the Fantasy Flight Euro Classics line.
Yeah.
Because I guess they're all under the Asmodee thing, right? Like they're all kind of one big conglomerate now. Mm-hmm. And they were planning on doing a Princes of Florence reprint. But that ended up falling through. They'd even gotten all the artwork out there, and then they just decided that it's not going to happen, and they canceled the reprint altogether. And Princes of Florence was a pretty popular game back in the day. I think it came out around 2000, 2001, and it was like high up on the BGG rankings for a long time, and it's definitely got a history behind it. And I think he was kind of waxing poetic about it a little bit, and
There was nostalgia built into the story,
right?
Absolutely, yeah.
But he was lamenting the fact that a game like that had to end up being canceled in this particular case.
Yeah.
And was wondering, like, where is the industry right now where something like that happens, where these classic games can't get their foot in the door in the modern board gaming milieu. So, did you guys read that article that I posted
totally,
up? Did you take a look at it?
Yeah.
I
think
I skimmed through it too. Yeah.
I'm always when I'm looking at a wide scope picture on the board game hobby and industry, I'm always going to parallel it to what I'm familiar with, and that's the music industry. And
yeah, I did it with the movie industry.
Yeah, and you always notice that when something's, again, I mean, it's all about revenue, right? I mean, the people who make the machine work are the people who want money to, want the machine to work because it makes the money, right? The big Asmodee, right? Mm-hmm. So when a formula gets figured out on how, okay, this is hot now, let's push that thumb hard on that button for a while until it stops, being the thing, and then let's go see what the next thing is, and then let's go, buy it all up and push that thumb on the button. And so I think that's what, and Kickstarter has a lot to do with it too, I think, because of that whole idea about, what can I get the big bang for the buck, and I need minis and I need this. And to me, I'm always looking for, when it comes to Kickstarter, it's like, I want the undeluxified. Give me the cardboard chit version of your game, because like any good piece of creativity, it comes down to the content, right? So if the game is good, it can stand up on its own with cardboard elements, right? For me, at least. Everything outside of that is just chrome and paint.
But I think that part of what he's getting at here is that he's questioning whether a game can stand up on its own anymore without that stuff.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of white noise with this hype and with the minis, and yeah.
Right. Well, and he does mention one thing that kind of pointed out to me, the idea of, they want to make money, which is absolutely fair, but it's at the cost of not enough risk, right? Going for the most risk-free
Yeah.
options that they have, and he's focused on, like he said, that there's the four main lines that Z-Man wants to worry about right now, which is like Carcassonne and Pandemic.
They're evergreen titles, yeah.
Exactly, and those are the ones that they're going to focus on, and they're going to do reprints of those,
And they're
going to be
push
focusing on
hard,
different versions of
hard
those.
on that button. Yeah.
Right, but it's at a cost, right? It's at a cost of these other games that could be great or are great and just aren't getting a chance to get to market again.
It's also sad at the same time, because they were advertising this line as the Euro classics.
Yeah.
Like bringing these back to the forefront of people's minds. Like these were things that kind of defined our hobby, and there's many people that probably never ever got to experience where these games, like Ian, you're a big pay homage to what came before, but what came before now, and that's where a lot of these titles were coming from. Like, I'm taking a look at here. I own 4 of these 5 Euro Classic these Euro Classic editions. Like I own Tigris and Euphrates, Samurai, Through the Desert, and I just acquired Raw. And so,
and I have Princess of Florence here in my collection, and it's like auction, yeah.
Yeah, Princess of Florence I love that game. I don't have it because my friend of mine has it already, but
I have one, so you're good. You're covered.
It's interesting that they're not, that they say that these games, but these are games that have stood up the test of time. Mm-hmm. Like Tigris and Euphrates, like you bring that title, you bring that name forward, and a lot of people are like, oh yeah, that's like one of the greatest tile laying games to ever exist. Or you talk about Raw, and people are like, oh yeah, that's like one of the greatest like auction games to ever come about. So like these ones they were popular titles that they did, and I think they were successful. So it's really interesting that he's come up with this point that he's saying, oh, I don't really know if these games can keep up with the newer models.
And what he's really saying, I think, is that there's no place for them in the big companies. It seems like he's still holding out hope for indie publishers to pick them up. Yeah. And he mentions Roxley Games with the Brass reprint, right?
Yeah.
And
here's the thing. It comes down to supply and demand, right? If the hobbyists or if the community is, asking for it, demanding for it, then yeah, like what Roxley did with Brass, right? So I think it's there's an obvious opportunity somewhere in this, right?
Yeah,
because
these
games just don't go to pasture.
Yeah, no, he's returned the rights back to the original, to the
which is impressive.
To the designers.
That's an impressive move. I was
wanting someone to pick him up. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. So I think it's supply and demand. If there's money to be made, someone's gonna come up with the idea.
So. Asmodee just wants money.
Well, and
make it rain, Asmodee. Make it rain.
And they wouldn't behave like that if there weren't consumers that were consuming what they're producing. So
doesn't Asmodee own now 80% of the board game? I'm just making that number up, but they seem to control a monopoly.
They have an influence, that's for sure. Yeah.
We're starting to see that influence. And I like how they took a little shot at Shut Up and Sit Down, too.
How they can move the interest
if you read the article, you'll find it.
Some Brits, yeah. Cool. Well, that's Ryan, was that a good conundrum? I think that was a good conundrum.
That's a good conundrum.
This episode of Cardboard Conjecture is proudly sponsored by Dragon's Den Games, located in the Louis VIII Mall on 8th Street in Saskatoon. Swing by Dragon's Den Games and let Darren, Al, and the awesome staff help you out in search for great board games, role-playing games, miniature systems, and all of the related accessories. Be a part of their gaming communities that have scheduled events in their great gaming area. Dragon's Den Games, Louis VIII Mall on 8th Street in Saskatoon. And we're back. This is Cardboard Conjecture, and we're going into, Ryan, what are we going into?
The reviews.
I'm going to start this off with with a game I don't think too many people have heard. No, this game has been talked about a lot, but
This surprised me when I read about it. When I saw it in the show notes.
well, and I mean, it needs to be talked about because it's one of these games. Talking back to what we were talking with Ian's Conundrum, it's one of these Euro games that is just solid, and it has the right to be on the shelf, and
it makes money.
And it's an evergreen title for Days of Wonder. So let's get into, and I'm talking about Ticket to Ride, of course. So let's get into the game details. Ticket to Ride, designed by Alan R. Moon, published by Days of Wonder in the year 2004. So this is
Wow.
That's a grandparent of a game. So overview, nuts and bolts. As I love to do all the time, I'm gonna go right to contributed by the publishers. With elegantly simple gameplay, Ticket to Ride can be learned in under 15 minutes, and they're right. Players collect cards of various types of train cars they then use to claim railway routes in North America. The longer the routes, the more points they earn. Additional points come to those who fulfill destination tickets, goal cards that connect distant cities, and the player who builds the longest continuous route. The rules are simple enough to write on a train ticket, and that is what I'm going to talk about when it's the uniqueness of this game. Each turn, you either draw more cards, claim a route, or get additional destination tickets. The tension comes from being forced to balance greed, adding more cards to your hand, and fear, losing a critical route to a competitor. So, as we mentioned, Ticket to Ride is one of Days of Wonder's evergreen titles. And I mean, the simplicity of this review demonstrates the simplicity of this game system.
Right. You said if it takes 15 minutes, if you're taking 15 minutes to teach this game, you're doing something wrong. Yeah. That's way too long.
Refer back to our teaching games episode.
And the reason why this popped up for me for an idea for review is because 4 Sundays in a row. My wife is not a big gamer. Her hobby is reading books. And my daughter is a tween age. So sitting down, hanging out with the parents playing board games is kind of, lame. That was very 90s Valley Girl. So the fact that 4 Sundays in a row, this is becoming a family board game habit. And we've played Ticket to Ride each time. And the reason why is because they're so comfortable with their understanding of the rule set not being hobbyist gamers, right? And what Mel said, my wife said, is what she enjoys the most about this game is it's easy to learn, and she just wants to get better and better and better and better at it. Which is, for me, I'm kind of like the opposite. I just want new experience, and maybe I'll spend, repetitive plays on a game. But this one, I've got to have at least 30 plus plays, more so, right? What I think is the most unique thing about this game, usually in our thing we talk about unique mechanisms. This is 2004. Right, so back then I think they were carving games with wood, out of wood, So I can't really say what would have been unique in 2004 about this game. Maybe the idea of route building or combining card collecting, like set collecting, and another mechanism. I'm not too sure. It's, for today's standards, it's a pretty light game. But I think the unique thing about this is what you jokingly said at the beginning, Ian. If it takes you 15 minutes to teach this game, you're doing it wrong. Right? It's this is like, sit down. Here you go. On your turn, you do this, or you do this. Everybody goes around, and we go until there's 3 things left. Here's your objective. She'll demonstrate a ticket. tell them how the blah blah, yeah, and you're going. I mean, that's for my wife who does. It's like, no, let's just play, and you can tell me how the game goes. This is a perfect game. So that's what I think is the unique, most interesting thing about this game is you're into this game before you even get comfortable scooching in your chair, kind of thing. Opinions. The box art it's classic. It is so cute. I mean, the art style, that the sepia toned, background is demonstrative of that era, I believe. The individuals on it. It's a train, so I don't think you're missing the point on this one. Ticket to Ride, it's all about trains, okay? Going inside, the components, I've never had any complaints about the train pieces or the cards. I do have a preference, though. I like playing with the European bigger train cards than the standard box edition. What do they call them? The American size or the smaller size cards?
Those are referred to as Euro.
The Euro
sized
cards, okay. So yeah, I much prefer the player card than the Euro card because I've got sausage fingers. Yeah, and that's about. I mean, there's nothing crazy about this game, and some wood markers. That's it. The board, great art. Very happy. Everything is nice and clear. There's no leaning in to try and see what is what.
I have had the board fall apart on me though.
Have you?
Not once, but twice. Twice the board fell apart.
Like torn apart, or
yeah, like the four corners of the board ripped apart. It was in 4 pieces.
You must have had one manufactured on a Wednesday.
I think it just is a testament to how often we play it.
Well, I was gonna say too. It's like I want to know how many plays, because that's if you're starting to tear paper, there's a lot of folding and unfolding going on.
Yep.
So, but you know what? Maybe that's a testament to the game. We played it till the wheels fell off.
Well, and I take it to school too, so kids at school are a little rough, right?
I think we could put an asterisk on that.
Yeah,
I let my class play it. Oh, okay, well, it was new this morning, and now it's destroyed by noon.
Yep.
Does this game all connect? Absolutely. I think it is the most genuine entry-level game that you can present to new gamers, and also keeping the experienced gamers dialed into the game. I've never had a game of Ticket to Ride that I've played where I thought to myself I wanted to be playing a different game. I'm always dialed in when I'm playing this game. Yeah, there's always interesting choices. It's organic. That's what I'm looking for. Every game, as far as the route building goes, has been strategically organic. If you're, what was the? Ryan, you remember this one? Longtime friends of podcasting, Joe Salin from Good, the Bored, and Ugly. What was his story about Ticket to Ride at a con?
Well, what was it? Or
a tournament or something?
Okay, then that was it. Because I had a story about Ticket to Ride, and I'm pretty sure it was derivative of that story about the tournament. Because I was going to make a mention
putting a train down right away, and it's with the guy who's I forget what a little desperate, aren't you?
Yeah, that move reeked of desperation.
That was it.
Just putting on down one of those single trains, like in the middle of the board, there's that one route,
Vancouver to Seattle. Yeah. So, and that's the thing. I mean, it depends who you're playing. If you're playing right away, if you're playing with experienced players, you're going to just hold off. And it's that whole push. I think it gets to that push your luck now. It's like, how long do I wait until I start dropping sets, right?
So I was talking a while ago, like before COVID times, to a board gaming community friend. And he had a pleasure of witnessing the, Ticket to Ride, like the board gaming world championships.
Oh, cool! Like
you managed to be able to be a spectator in that, and he's just like, "Wow, did they manage to suck the fun out of this game?" Because everybody played with the exact same strategy. What everybody did was everybody just drew cards until like.
The whole deck was gone.
No one played a train until the whole deck was gone, and then all of a sudden it was just boom, 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 all over the board, and then the game was done. He's like, I don't know what I just saw. Everybody just hoarded the cards, so it was almost like, because we've done house rules on this one, that there is like a kind of like a point, like a hand size. Like you got to start playing trains at around, like, you know, if you can't have more than like 10 or 12 cards in your hand or something like that. Something ridiculous about that, but
yeah, I'm going to try that strategy. That's a good one. It'll make Mel and Sophie kind of look at me and go, "What are you up to?"
Well, I know, but I noticed that's what Jen likes to do lots of the times. Is
sit back.
She amasses a crazy amount of cards, and all of a sudden she's like, and I'm just like, oh, as I collect and I put down, I collect and I put down, and all of a sudden she's just like, it's just turn after turn after turn.
Oh yeah,
and she's just building routes. I'm just like, oh my gosh, what's going on right now?
Then this is like a therapy session, Brian, and that's the first time she started beating me at every game, and it just carried on from there. For me, for conclusions, I mean, obviously you can tell that I'm a big fan of this game. Any game that allows me the opportunity to play with my entire family is going to get thumbs up all the way. And if it's a game that holds my interest and challenges me, strategic and tactical moment to moment, yes. If you don't have this in your collection, then maybe you've tried it and it's not for you. But this,
you're probably not a board gamer.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to say that. I mean, because it's subjective, right? I mean, but this is by far the best way to introduce anybody that if you're in a bubble and you don't have gaming partners, play Ticket to Ride, and I bet you any money you will start to foster a new hobby in your community, in your bubble.
This is the
COVID
gateway
bubble.
game.
Yeah.
Like the ultimate gateway game.
Yeah. It's to me it's the best entry level system into this hobby that I can imagine. So it's on my top shelf just for that, right? And proudly, I'm not hiding it behind a box on my top shelf. It's proudly sitting on my top shelf.
Right there beside Battleship.
Beside Kemet, beside Hansa Teutonica. So, yeah, to me, thumbs up all the way. Get this game. And Ian, I know you're a big fan. The expansions for this game. We played France. We have Amsterdam. We have
This is where
Markland.
This is where that cash cow for Asmodee is right now.
Yeah.
Is just pumping out a new version of Ticket to Ride.
New map with a little twist to the rules.
Yeah.
But there's always a little twist to the rules, and sometimes I like that.
Right? Longtime listener of the show, Lane, he created his own Saskatchewan map. So you'll have to get him to post some pictures of it in the Discord.
I'm trying to think.
And wasn't it inspired by, there's a map at the Western Development Museum that he said he saw it. He says, that looks like a Ticket to Ride map.
He just went all beautiful mind at the map and just kind of saw the lines tracing all around. Cool. Yeah. I'm trying to figure out some jokes, but I can't. So
no.
You know.
But this is, like you say, Norm, this is one of those games where you're always talking about that cognitive load.
Yeah.
Like, how much does it take to boot up the memory to play this game? Like, once you've played it, like, you now know how to play this. This is riding a bike. And the
rules are on like a 11 by 17 sheet that you fold, right? It's like one page rules. Beautiful. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you've played some of the that's not the 2-player, but like the smaller.
Yeah, the New York and London.
Like the smaller ones.
Yeah.
And like, do those capture the feel of Ticket to Ride?
Absolutely. And it cuts down the time too. I mean, I think it's fractionally representative of the size of the game and the time it takes too. So yeah. Did you like that? Fractionally representative?
I always get a good math reference.
Nice. Thank you. I'm here all week.
Try the veal.
Yeah. Oh no, don't try the veal. No, don't try the veal. Vegan, farm to table, all the way.
This episode is proudly supported by the amazing team at Breakout Escape and Board Game Lounge from right here in Saskatoon. Using industry-leading technology, Breakout Escape's escape rooms are all 100% uniquely designed by the team, ensuring their patrons have maximum fun while staying safe. As well, they are a fully licensed board game lounge with over 400 titles to select from to ensure fun for every gamer, new and experienced. Be sure to check them out at breakoutsask.com. At Breakout Escapes and Game Lounge, they believe that life is more fun when you play games.
All right, so speaking of farm to table, you guys have a pool game that you want to talk about?
Marco.
Someone's got to answer. Polo. There we go. Couldn't leave it hanging.
Every listener out there said, somebody please say it. Somebody please say it.
Yeah. That's like dun, 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 and just leave it.
Yeah. Okay.
Dun, dun.
Well, we're going to talk about the Voyages of Marco Polo. So, shoot, I don't even have the. Is it two, Ryan? Is it 2 to 4 or 2 to 5? It's 4 players, right?
It's a 2 to 4 player. Yeah. 2 to 5 if you have the expansion.
Right. Okay, so it's a 2 to 4 player game. Takes about, what would you say, an hour to 90 minutes? Hour. I would say an hour.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, once you're more comfortable with the game system, it's an hour, 90 minutes if you're. Yep.
Yeah. So it's from Daniele Tassini and Simone Luciani.
I love Simone Luciani games. Right? Love Simone Luciani games.
Z-Man?
Yeah, Z-Man, now known as Asmodee.
Yeah. So in Marco Polo, you are a traveling merchant, and in the times of Marco Polo, your goal is to establish settlements in cities and to complete contracts. That's kind of the overall idea of the game. The turn consists of rolling 5 dice and then using them to claim your actions. So the higher rolls usually get better results because you can do whatever the action of your lowest dice that you take to that spot is. And so on your turns, what you can do with the dice, you can collect the goods that you're going to need for your contracts. You can get money because you always need money. You can actually purchase contracts, go and get some contracts. And of course you can travel, go to other cities and put down your settlements. And then you also get bonus actions if you're in cities and other little bonuses as well when you reach those cities. You also have, just like Norm mentioned, Ticket to Ride, here's your connection. So you get 2 cards at the beginning of the game, which are 2 destinations that you want to connect. So as long as you build into both those connections, you get however many points it says on the card. And so your traveling goal is to do that, which is actually pretty difficult. Mm-hmm. So that's the game in a nutshell, I would say. Ryan, do you? Yeah,
you're missing one of the really cool parts.
Okay.
Which is the special character that you are on your at the beginning of the game.
The crazily overpowered characters.
Well, so it's crazy. I've got a list. I found a picture of them here on BGG, so I'm kind of looking at them, and each character does something pretty unique in the game, and one person could look at one person's character and say, "Wow, that is really good." Like that part. Like Ian and I played a game just the other week, and I had the character where I could set my dice values to whatever I wanted.
Right.
Which seems pretty ridiculous. I didn't win this game, but it was pretty nice that I didn't have to depend on the rolls of my dice in order to select my actions. Whereas Ian's character, every single round, he got an extra dice, and he also gets a contract. So he didn't have to take the contract action as many times throughout the game, which is also really good. He doesn't have to spend an action.
Dice, though, that's like...
And an extra dice.
Yeah,
that's overpowered, man. Ian, that's overpowered. No wonder you won the game.
Yeah, well, they're all overpowered. That's the beauty of it. There's another one where you're actually 2 travelers and you get 2 people going out on the board.
That's Niccolo and Marco Polo.
Right. Yeah, those characters are pretty cool. They're a neat addition to the game. Because they're not just like, you get to do this extra little thing, or this extra little thing is like, yeah, they're pretty big.
It's groundbreaking, and you need to play the game to the strength of your of your character. And that's the fun puzzle, but I'll let Ian continue.
So a few things I noticed about this game. Traveling is really expensive because it costs a lot of money and a lot of camels as well, depending on the routes you want to go to. So if you're passing over big desert regions or empty regions, you need to spend camels to do that. If you're crossing water, you need to spend a whole bunch of money to do it. And you just need to spend money in general to travel. And so traveling can be tough. But you kind of, if you want to go for those traveling goals at all, you kind of need to travel every time. And so you really got to manage your money and your camels well so that you can go into the cities. But throughout the game, there's also like little bonuses which could get you to move as well, right? So like certain contracts, if you complete a contract, you get to move your guy one space too. And so if you can take advantage of those, that helps as well. Because there's only really 5 rounds. And so that means you only get to go to the traveling spot 5 times. And then all the rest is based on the bonuses that you're going to take.
Right.
But
there is the opportunity to travel more. Like, so the rule is once you have placed your dice down on an action spot, you cannot place your colored dice in that action spot again. But there is the opportunities of buying these black dice or acquiring these black dice through bonus actions. And so if I've acquired some black dice, let's just say that the travel spot costs 2 dice. I got 2 of my color, but I've also got 2 black dice. Now I can place those 2 black dice down.
Seriously?
And travel again in the game.
That's a thing? Okay.
Oh, yeah. The only restriction is that you can't have the same colored dice take the action again. So like with the Marco Polo, the character you were with the white dice, if you went one spot with your red dice, you can now go to the exact same spot again with your white dice.
Well, how about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ian just learned a new rule to the game.
There you go. The other thing I will mention is that dice, you can actually re-roll your dice or bump them up a notch by spending camels. That's because a lot of people like to whine and complain about, how dice are so random. And so this is to make those people be quiet.
And I think that's written in the rules.
So the box cover, let's talk about the inside out. So the box cover, I would say, isn't outstanding, but it evokes the theme. It's got wooden bits, right? So little people for moving through your cities. You got Settlers Catan type houses. That's really it for the bits, other than the dice.
Yeah, because you didn't mention with the box cover art, it looks like it should be a Clemens Franz artwork.
I'm looking at that.
But it's actually Dennis Lohausen.
There you go.
Of Terra Mystica fame.
That's right. The player boards are kind of cool because it's like designed like a traveler's chest or something, like a desktop, and you got pull-out drawers, and that's where you put your contracts. And yeah, they kind of went all out on the little individual player boards, more so than anything else. The map is fine. Like the routes are tough to navigate. Like they really planned out the routes of going to the cities and making it difficult to get places, which is good. I mean, it's
deceiving. It's deceiving when you look at them too, because some routes look like, that route is like super long. Like, I don't know why anybody, but it's actually no longer than say like the top route looks like it's a pretty short route, but actually the top route is actually the longest route out of them all. But that middle route has lots of camel costs.
Yeah.
Like you have to pay, because that's the one that's going through the deserts and the mountains. And
that's right. And if the one other thing is that if you can get to Beijing, which is, historically it's like going from Venice to Beijing. So historically that makes sense for Marco Polo. But if you can get to Beijing, you get end of the game points to get there. So that's kind of like an overall travel goal that everybody can go for.
Yeah, the first person to get there gets 10 points, and then it just kind of cascades downwards.
Right.
And then you also get that, you get that benefit of every 2 leftover resources gets you a point at the end of the game. But if you don't get to Beijing, you don't get that bonus. Which there's a character, you can be, is it Genghis Khan? And he starts in Beijing.
Right. Yeah.
He starts with 10 points, and he starts with that ability to gain extra points at the end of the game.
And some of the cities that are around there, like there's that one city, I don't remember what it is, but it has 3 bonus actions that you can take if you're building that city. So if you're starting Beijing, you can go straight there, and then you've got 3 extra actions that you can take.
Man, that character sounds overpowered.
The one thing I will say about components is that they've got 2 levels of the wooden resources. And so like the smaller, so you've got like, there's like silk, I don't remember what the resources are now.
Silk, spice, and gold.
Right. And so, but they've got 2 different levels. Like the little ones are for 1 of the resource, and then they've got just slightly bigger versions of all of them that are 3. That drives me nuts. Like, just give me a whole bunch more.
Yeah, just mainly because there isn't a significant size difference.
There is not. No,
in them.
It's very hard to tell.
They did fix that in Marco Polo 2. We're not talking about that game, but they did fix that they are significantly larger.
Yeah, because that's annoying. I would say this is a really challenging game, but the challenge is what makes it fun. So, especially with like trying to get all your settlements out there, that traveling is hard to do. But if you can do it, you get those city bonuses, you get those actions, and all those kind of things that keep the game fresh too. Because every city is going to be different actions in the different cities, because it's basically you draw them from a hand of cards. And you put cards down on the city, and each card is different. And so each city will have a different action associated with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the variability in the setup is astronomically through the roof. You're never gonna have the same layout in Marco Polo 2 games in a row ever. Just because that is a big stack of those city actions. And plus the tiled cities, like the smaller cities, are also randomly distributed around the board.
I don't think they are actually
as well.
I think you could, but they actually do have specific spots. And I as I was playing, I realized why. It's because the ones further away from Venice are better. Mm-hmm. Right. So those are the ones you get every turn.
Yeah. Yeah. I've always played where I just randomly have placed.
Well, you're a rebel,
randomly
right?
placed. Oh yes. You did mention the fun part about this game is trying to figure out, like, what am I going to focus on in this game? Because in my experience, traveling is super expensive. So if my character isn't a travel specific character, I'm probably not traveling very much. Unless if the city's kind of close by to Venice, or there's a particular path that has some really good bonuses, then I'll probably try to go for those ones. But otherwise, the contract strategy in this game it does provide quite a bit of a benefit, because there is the thing that if you've completed the most contracts in this game, you score 7 points. But if you tie, then you don't split the points. Both people get the 7 points.
Right. Yeah.
In that regard, the traveling too, you can get bonus points if you focus on traveling, and you can get out. What is it? The 9th and 10th?
Yeah, your last 2 settlements.
The last 2 ones. The last one unlocks 5 points. The second last one unlocks 5 points. The last one unlocks 10 points. That's 15 points, which in this game can be significant.
But like I said, there's only 5 rounds, and so you really got to plan things out if you want to get to that many cities. Like, it's not easy.
I'm laughing because I've played this once with Ryan, loved it, absolutely loved it. But I'm looking at a game that, as you guys are describing this, I'm like, yeah, this is just the same feel I get when I play Newton. And all of a sudden I dial in, I'm like, wait.
Oh, it's the same designer.
It's Luciano, right? So it's like he's got this DNA in his games where you have to process the board and come up with a plan and be tactical. Absolutely, with every choice. I'm so impressed with his game designs.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he does a very good job of keeping things simple. Like the gameplay itself is pretty straightforward, but he does a wonderful job of incorporating depth into the gameplay. That puzzle, like I would say, a good Luciani game is a very good puzzle. The theme isn't like in this one. This is probably one of the ones where the theme does come out a little bit better than some of his other games, but yeah, the puzzle of this, trying to figure out am I going to focus on, how am I going to do that. I got to really manage my resources. It's all about the combos too, like fulfilling a contract that provides you with the stuff to do for the next thing that I want to do. That is super satisfying to be able to pull that off.
That balancing, what do I need to do now and what do I need to plan for later? I think that's what I loved about that game.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very good game.
Yeah. Like it's ranked overall right now on BGG. It's ranked 57 overall.
And this is playable on Board Game Arena as well, isn't it?
It is. That's
It
how
is
we played it the
available.
other day. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, cool.
And it's also available on Yukata. It's available on multiple boards. And this version, the original Marco Polo, is now classified as out of print. It's not being printed anymore. That's
Seriously?
only because that's only because yeah, and that's only because they've come out with Marco Polo 2 in the service of the con now. And so now they're focusing on printing and reprinting Marco Polo 2.
Do you remember when Terminator 2 came out and they just stopped making Terminator DVDs?
I was just going to say, I think Ian short-circuited a little bit when he was like, what do you mean you're not allowing access to the first one? What's up with that? I saw that eye twitch.
Well, there's been interviews with Luciani and Ticini, where they've said, yeah, we kind of learned after the fact of Marco Polo. Like Marco Polo's got a great fan base. It's a diehard. It's a great game.
Yeah.
But then they said, this is what actually we intended. Well, we should like the traveling in Marco Polo 1, punishing, extremely expensive to do. And what do we really know Marco Polo for is his ability to travel in his voyages and everything like that. So that's why Marco Polo 2, the travel aspect is much more the forefront of the gameplay, but all the same DNA. I'm not talking about Marco Polo. This is not a Marco Polo 2 review, but that's what they've said. And that's why kind of like Marco Polo 1 is not in print anymore.
All right. So are you guys still got some opinions, or are you guys going to do some concluding?
Yeah, let's conclude it up. I don't know. I think we've said everything. Like, it is a tough game, but the challenge is why it's fun. I think the dice placement works well. I think that having the different values for your dice and the options that you can go for is pretty neat. It makes it a little bit extra from regular worker placements, is that adding that dice aspect to it. And I really like it.
Right.
Which shelf does it sit on?
High middle.
Ooh,
High middle.
nice. Yeah, no, Marco Polo was one of the very first, it was my first Luciani game. I absolutely fell in love with it the very first time that I ever played it. I even classified it, like, if you go back to 2015, Ryan probably would have classified this as his like favorite game of all time. I played the heck out of it. Way back when. We're talking about like 6 years ago.
That's ages ago, man. Oh,
yeah, I loved it for those fact that it was a tight economy. It was punishing. There was a great puzzle behind it. It proudly sits still on my top shelf, but I also do own Marco Polo 2 now. And I found that we actually play now, like when we played it on BGA, I was telling Ian, I'm like, wow, I haven't played Marco Polo in quite some time, and I've forgotten how punishing and how tight the resources were, because it's not as tight in the second one. But I really enjoy this one for that fact alone, that I have to do that much extra planning for my strategy to actually work out in this game. And it's to be noted too, the dice rolls don't punish you that much too, because if you do roll low, you do get some compensation. You can take compensation in the terms of money or camels. And we talked about how versatile camels were.
And honestly, most of those city cards, if you're built into those cities, you can use your low dice on those actions, because sometimes those actions, I mean, you're better if you have bigger dice, but sometimes it's not worth the big dice anyway, and so you can use your little ones there too.
Yeah. So, nope. This one still proudly is one of my favorite Euro games of all time. They knocked it out of the park. There is room for both this one and Marco Polo 2 in people's collections. They are a similar game, but they do enough differently that it does provide a different experience, in my conjecture opinion.
All right. Well, that's hitting that conjecture moment. That's a perfect segue to wrap this up. Do you guys have any final comments on the Marco Polo review, gentlemen, before we go into our closing? Go buy it, or go play it on BGA.
Go play it on BGA, because that's pretty much where most people are going to be able to play this game nowadays.
And it costs you nothing to do that. Unless it's a premium game.
I can't remember if it's a premium or not. That's besides the point.
Cool. Well, we're at the end of this episode, so thank you so much for listening. I'm your host, Norm.
I'm Marco.
And I'm Polo.
And we'll catch you later. This has been an episode of Cardboard Conjecture, and we are Bridge City Board Gamers. And you can find us on Facebook at Bridge City Board Gamers Saskatoon. You can find us on YouTube, Bridge City Board Gamers. We are also on Twitter at BC Board Gamers. And of course, Board Game Geek Guild number 3039.